All right. And let me see here. There we go. Hello, everybody. Oh. All right. Looks like we've got a good bit of stuff to do today. Well, good bit of things to do. I have drafted up some of what we were working on last time, so that way we can finish up the first level ability for the Aberrant Influence, Aberrant Minds Sorcerer analog here. Then I also have a couple of ideas drafted for the Verdant Hollow. But other than that, we're kind of open today, so I'm hoping that we can do some more actual leveled abilities for the Sorcerer subclasses, but we could also, since we've done a lot of Sorcerer stuff recently, we can dive back over towards the Duelist. We can work on the Wizard. We can do most things. It's kind of going to depend on what you guys want to do, what you guys want, the direction that we end up going. I'm always happy to answer chat questions or just hang out with you guys in chat here, but I suppose without further ado, let's go ahead and jump over to where we had left off yesterday. Not yesterday, 2 days ago, because my computer was glitching out, throwing screens all over the place and being generally rather difficult. I think I've got that all sorted out. So crossing my fingers that everything maintains a level of stability here. So, where we had left off was we were working with the idea of a sorcerer whose aberrant influence is that of a creature similar to the Quarry from the Eberron setting. Now, these are kind of enigmatic dream creatures that shape, influence, and build a narrative surrounding the dreams of their followers and those who are bonded to them. And I think that they are a really cool thing and something that I want to include within my tabletop game setting, as well as its... Oh, hang on. Did the music die? Let me... Oh, no, there it goes. Okay. And as well as its just kind of general ethos, its general, monster catalog. I want there to be a way for some sort of tangibilization of creatures that architect the unwaking world. Let me go ahead and just kind of add in what I had changed around the language that I was using here. So, all right. You draw your magics from an enigmatic dream spirit from the Sea of Stars. This creature grants you the ability to pass items and treasures between the waking world and its dreaming domain. As a minor action on your turn, you can perform the special action Commit to Dream, in which you convert a single item in your possession, into a lingering memory of that item. When you complete a long rest, you can manifest any number of items you have stowed in the dream realm, returning them to the material plane. Alternatively, you can create a small item able to be held in a single hand, worth no more than a number of gold pieces equal to your spellcraft modifier from the Dreaming Ether. And then we have our feature. Dream Spirit from the Sea Stars. This creature grants you the ability to pass items and treasures between the waking world, its dreaming domain. Yep. as a minor action on your turn, you can perform the special action Commit to Dream, in which you convert a single item in your possession into a lingering memory of that item. You can manifest any number of things you have stowed in the dream realm. Worth no more than a number of gold pieces equal to your spellcraft modifier. Go. Influence. There we go. Hang on. Let me go ahead and just check one other thing here. Make sure I get my prerequisite formatting correctly. And I did not. All right, so there we go. We've got that minor action, instantaneous. Implement an object held in your hands, range, touch 5 feet, target, not self, target one object. All right. Your possession to the memory of your dreaming spirit. As you perform this action, the item of your choice Disappears, vanishes. Mistake there. And reappears in the dreams of your sorceress patron. Alright. Use this feature to stow away any object that they can carry out a strain while an object is stowed. It is inaccessible until the sorcerer chooses to return to the material plane upon the completion of a long rest. There we go. Alright, then we can get rid of basically everything else here. Alright, and so in order to finish up this ability here, first it needs a name. Came up with one of those. That is going to be called Aberrant Influence. Alright, so our mind players here, once again, because we are working outside of like the DM's guild and such, and so we are working fully within the SRD, we have to follow Wizards of the Coast IP restrictions, and so therefore things like mind flayers are not available to us. However, we can, file the IP off and have our own very similar squid dudes with telepathic abilities from the future, doing some messed up Eldritch Lovecraftian nonsense. And we will. We just can't call them mind flayers or illithids. And so as a part of this, I've come up with different names that we can use to call these things within this ability that is also vague enough that it doesn't always have to be mind flayers. So this one here is more than anything a reference to MCDM and their RPG Draw Steel, but I think that especially for the ability that we tied to it, I think it works very well. And then we can just, it all goes to one line there. Alright, so then our false Hydra one we called the Faceless, or I called it. It's a team effort. The aboleth here is the Keeper of Memory. And that works both in the name of the City of Memory at the bottom of Ionok, but also, the Grand Memory Palace that we are drawing on and being a part of. Holder or Overmind here, that is going to be the all-seeing eyes. That honestly works better than just, fully relying on Beholder lore, just because it matches the fantasy of what is happening within our ability. And then for our final one here, All right, so what we need to do now is we actually need to organize these alphabetically. So that means these guys here are going up first. Alright, so we have the Architects of Dreaming. That's not true. All-Seeing Eyes should be first. Naturally. Alright. Then we have Architects of Dreaming. Then we have the Faceless. And then Keeper of Memory, so we can actually just keep both of those there. Boom. And then Voiceless Talkers are at the bottom. Alright, so there we go. We've got our options listed in there. Now, what I want to do as far as our description goes before we do this is one of the things I like about what we did with the inheritance of the element is we listed our options here. We didn't do that with the Way of the Primordial Flame, and I feel like that was a mistake. But we can fix that rather easily. All right, there we go. I do think we should probably have a clause here, because when we were looking at the fighter and its fighting styles in the SRD here, you can't take a fighting style option more than once, even if you later get to choose again. I don't think we're going to have this be something that we can choose again. However, I do want to think that there is something that says you can't choose something more than once. You can't choose something. Well, we don't need it more than once. We need it to be once you choose this, it is set and you cannot change it. I mean, because otherwise that's just a standard ability. Even if you later get to choose again. No, yeah. I think it's implied that it just stays. Yeah, let's ignore that train of thought that I was considering there. Because why would we need to say you can't choose it again if we're not giving that option to change it? If we're not giving more of it, no need. Okay, so Inheritance of the Aberrant Minds. Let's go ahead and write our description. Grab our other ones here just so that we can have reference as we're writing this, so that way they can all seem and be similar in nature. Okay, and elements here. There we go. All right. So your sorceress origin comes from an innate connection with an alien, other. No, we don't need to say alien because alien is a little bit more of a sci-fi word than we're hoping for. An otherworldly being. Perhaps you were experimented on by them or discovered them through your sorceress potential. I want to have one more thing there. Rule of threes, like, it reads better. Perhaps you were experimented on them. Well, so experiments in. I mean, we could say random encounters. We could do like a forged pact. Though that's more of the anointed thing. Discovered them through your sorcerer's potential. Okay. I don't know. Experimentation, discovery. For someone who likes to and enjoys listening to like sci-fi stories and horror stories of potential actual alien abductions, like I'm kind of running up a blank here. Perhaps you were experimented on by them. I mean, so we have discovery, we have experimentation. So that's both of us finding them. So what would the other option be? It would just be like a chance encounter. Which feels less good, I'm not gonna lie. Is like this is on the level of like discovering like a Cthulhu. Perhaps you're experimented on by them. Um, Perhaps your family or close associates serve worship on their behalf. Serve these beings and work on their behalf, or perhaps I mean that would be the third perhaps. So maybe we don't want to do that. Your sorcerer's origin comes from an innate connection with an otherworldly being. Perhaps you were experimented by them. Perhaps your family or close associates serve these beings and work on their behalf, or perhaps I think we're just gonna keep the echoing pattern of it same there. And why is it showing that I'm offline here? Let me refresh that there. Make sure it's all working right. Okay, there we go. Scared me for a second. I thought I wasn't streaming. Okay. But it was just OBS lagging. or perhaps you discovered them through your sorceress potential. These choose one of the following aberrant influences to reflect this connection that has reflect this connection. The influence of the all-seeing eyes the bond with the architect's dreaming an encounter with faceless a history with the keeper, memory, or what? Or a communication with the voiceless talkers. There we go. Alright, so there we go. We have our things there, and there are our options. Cool. Cool. I'm curious, how many words are in this document? Oh, only 2,000. That's, well, on this page. On this page, of course. That feels low. But, you know, hey. As long as they're 2,000 good words. Alright, so our final subclass here that we want to create a sort of fighting style sort of choice for here is that of the inheritance of the verdant hollow. So what I was talking about yesterday when we were working through the inheritance of the aberrant minds was that I changed this name slightly here from Inheritance of the Verdant Grove because I wanted to reflect a little bit of a darker nature to it, and Hollow works better at fulfilling that idealized fantasy rather than Grove, which sounds much more kind of this peaceful, bucolic style of fantasy. And in that discussion, I also brought forward the idea that I kind of wanted to emulate emulate some of the ideas that are on display in the podcast Old Gods of Appalachia, because that is one, it's just a very good, very well done narrative experience, but also because it evokes a very strong fantasy. It is a very strong idea and identity for a character and for a story. And so while obviously we can't, just adapt one to one. What we can do is we can adapt themes and ideas. And so this idea that there is a spirit to nature, a spirit that commands and controls the different ways and life cycles of the world, is what I want to show in this Inheritance of the Verdant Hollow. Some people will just be born much more naturally attuned and connected to the land that they grow up on, that they journey to, that they get a calling for. And because of that, they have these different sorceress abilities, and specifically in that, they get to kind of choose their own destiny based on kind of where they come from and how they interact with the land. And so I do have a couple of ideas as far as what these as far as like looking at the aberrant ones here, what these bold-faced terms are going to be, and then we can build mechanics and ideas around that. So let's go ahead and just give ourselves some space here. So we have the Keeper of the... Oh, that was supposed to be bold. We have the Keeper of the Green. So this is going to be your kind of standard run-of-the-mill. I'm connected to nature. I am the voice of nature. Then we have the Bringer of Rot. We have the Shepherd, the Inner Dark. We have, man, sometimes these just don't work. The Wicker Hearted. And then we have the Voice of Peace. All right. So I was sketching out some initial ideas here based on what we've done previously. And so I want to just kind of put that in here as a beginning piece of that draft. You know, thinking back, these should be italicized. Just go ahead and do that. Okay. Sorry, with that little bit of an ADHD side quest going there. So Keeper of the Green, what do you do? When you deal necrotic damage to a target, hang on. What I think I'm going to need to do here, what I think is going to be useful. Actually, hang on. We were in deep space here for the aberrant mines here, but let's go to somewhere with a verdant grove. There we go. That should be better. That should be more thematic. Okay. Okay, so let's just kind of scroll through here on the right, make sure that we can get our wording correctly. But when you deal necrotic damage to an opponent, one creature of your choice you can see, no, not see, perceive, within 60 feet of you gains either the blessed condition until the start your next turn, or gains a number of temporary hit points equal to, I originally said here your spellcraft modifier, but this could be your current number of sorcery points. Your choice. All right. The Bringer of Rot. This one I think could be a lot of fun. But it's going to take a little bit of fleshing out narrative. When you perform an investiture that deals necrotic damage for one, hang on, once per turn. Perform an investiture that deals necrotic damage. Anytime one of your core dice, the results of your core dice roll may impact and enhance your corrosive abilities. So when you roll a when one of your core dice rolls a result of a 12, you inflict the target of your attack with, and then I have it here as a damage over time corrosion, necrotic. So let's go ahead and jump over to our conditions here. Conditions. Damage over time. Where are you here? Frostbite, which deals cold. Incineration deals fire. Necrosis deals necrotic. Okay. Alright. With the damage over time necrosis condition, dealing damage equal to your attack's damage die. And here's the part where it can get kind of fun and maybe get a little bit on the crazier side, but you know, crazy can be good. If both of your core dice show a result 12, the damage over time necrosis condition deals damage equal to double your attack's base damage die. There we go. So basically, if you perform an investiture that deals 1d12 necrotic damage here, but one of your core dice rolls a 12, that does your damage, but then it also inflicts them with a damage over time necrosis condition that does 1d12 damage at the start of their turns until they can resist it. If both of your attacks roll if both of your core dice roll a 12, so this is I believe it's a 1 in 144 chance, because it's a roll of 2d12, so this is a rather circumstantial thing, but it's going to be really friggin' cool if like you can get it to go off and like make it work. That means then the damage over time necrosis is going to do 2d12 damage at the start of each turn for that creature until they resist, which is strong. Once per turn. Generative abilities. Rolls a result of a 12. All right. A little bit of editing there. All right, so that is the Bringer of Rot. Shepherd of the Inner Dark is going to be a bit more of a manipulation style feature. Once again, I'm pretty proud of this one. When you deal damage to a sorry, when you deal necrotic damage to a target, you can speak a command of up to 5 words to the target creature. Invoking the authority of the inner dark. No, we don't need that line there. Hello, Hoylepa. Glad to have you back. Good to see you again. All right. Still Sorcerer. Yep. I finished up the Aberrations one here. I believe you jumped out before we were before we had like finished up the final wording of the quarry kind of one here. And so here, let me go ahead and jump back there for you there. So the way that that one is intended to work is that you have the ability to connect to this dreaming dimension and become a bit of a bag of holding. Oh, I don't need to. Oh, well, thank you, but yeah. Yeah. And so I'm just very proud and excited about that ability there. So what I'm working on now is the Verdant Hollow kind of fighting style, like changes to the necrotic condition and damage. Hang on, let me throw the chat on screen there. Woo. And so right now I've got Keeper of the Green, the Bringer of Rot, and I'm working on a command style one. You have a lot of good ideas, so I really appreciate it. All right. When you deal necrotic damage to a target, you can speak a command of up to 5 words to the target creature. If the target creature acts in accord with your command, they are blessed until they complete a short rest or attack one of your allies. Or attack, no, hang. Yeah. That's fine. Until they complete a short rest, attack one of your allies, or you use this feature again. There we go. That's everything. If the creature does not act in accord with your command, they are blinded for 1 minute. Save it. There we go. Cool. Thanks to Patrick showed me to start anything. Well, I'm glad that you have a way to share and be creative. I'm sorry about your childhood. I can't. It's hard for me to say anything more, just not knowing anything else. But I'm happy that you're here, and I appreciate your creativity. All right. Nice. The Wicker Hearted here. So this is going to be kind of I wanted to try and create this one as something that is distinct and different than a just a standard witch, but that is a lot of where it can come from here. So I was thinking, once per turn, when you deal necrotic damage to a creature that has either the damage over time necrosis, damage over time incinerate conditions, or is otherwise vulnerable to necrotic damage. Like those are 3 conditions that not necessarily are going to be happening, so we can dial that up and down with signature abilities and investitures here. But that would then give us so when you hit with that, fulfill the condition, you would recover one of your expended hit dice. And so that can be a way to kind of do a bit of long-term passive healing. 24-hour constitution bonus if you get necrotic. I think that's kind of the same thing here. I mean, I know we're both we're hitting at this from different angles here, but a bonus to your Constitution score would then theoretically get you maybe a couple more hit points immediately, or like temporary hit points of a sort until you take a long rest, which is also natural. Yep. So once per turn, when you deal, hang on, let me wording here, necrotic damage to an opponent, to an opponent that has the damage over time necrosis condition, the damage over time incinerate condition, or vulnerability to necrotic damage, you recover one of your expended hit dice. And like, since this is not technically unbounding, hang on, let me rephrase. Since this is not technically bound, this would be a way to have a sorcerer recover theoretically even almost all of their hit dice. Like so long as they can prolong the encounter, prolong the fight, they can just kind of keep farming their hit dice back here, which then they can convert into more sorcery points, which lets them do more damage. And so this does either have a long-term sustainability in that you have more hit dice and you can continue adventuring longer, or you can convert it into more damage. And then for the Voice of Peace here, this would be kind of a balance-oriented ability, but at the same time, I don't really have notes for it. So the one thing that I like here with this subclass, with this ability, is that it is working a lot with the blessed and baned conditions, which feels thematic, but they're also not necessarily the greatest or like strongest different conditions, excuse me, that you can have, but they only stack once and they counteract each other. So Voice of Peace here, we have a lot of these triggering on doing attacks with necrotic damage. Perhaps this one I think that I like the idea that this um, fighting style, this archetype feature, would inflict both a blessed and a baned condition on two different creatures of their choice. So, like, you have one that gets a blessing, one that gets a bane. But I need to figure out what the trigger for this would be, and I think maybe it's just whenever someone on the battlefield that you can perceive heals, you can choose to either maybe when someone on the battlefield chooses to heal, uh, heals hit points specifically, not gaining temporary hit points or anything of the like. You can give them either the blessed or bane condition until the start of your next turn. I mean, would that be a reaction? Because the reaction economy is a little bit dense. Maybe undeath. Undeath are granted peace, living get unrest. Yeah. Okay. This ability couldn't just exclude undead. Nothing go. That one of the things we did with the element of fire sorcerer up here is that we opened up their action economy while dying. So in my game, when you're dying, your action economy is reduced to one minor action, one major action. Voice of Peace from which? Okay, Voice of Peace from which? I'm not 100% sold on the idea of Voice of Peace, but it felt a little bit less almost judgmental than like Voice of Reason. And so this is going to be kind of an arbiter of the natural order and processes. And so trying to return things to this sort of equilibrium point. So using their magic to order the chaos, if not for a brief moment. Um, um, hmm. So, fire here was giving just all of our action economy around. So maybe this one here. Let's see here. What are some of our different things? Easy potions. Power of the witch flows so strong now, though through the sorcerer, that they can save. Okay. One of the things I am trying to do is I'm trying to kind of cut back a little bit on classes that like have items as a mechanic, because the wizard kind of does that with spell scrolls, and I do have an idea for like a artificer type class in the future, but that does kind of play into the idea that I was having earlier, since potions are going to heal hit points. So whenever a creature heals hit points, that could be our trigger for something happening. And then we could also have that be a kind of minor curse or bane for enemies that have like a cleric or something in their party that are healing. So maybe so long as they're like in contact with the earth, in contact with the ground, that would bane them or bless them. All right. Once per turn. It's more like I have spells. Oh, let's save them for later. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Spells left over. Save them later. Mhm. On one hand, that's a little bit not quite how the sorcerer works here for my game, because it's a rather larger departure from like a 5e sorcerer or a 5e wizard. But I get the idea. I see what you're going, what you mean there. Maybe if we do tie sorcery points into this. Sorcery points, maybe sorcery die. Yes, nice. Come from the witch archetype. Hell yeah. Once per turn, creature you can perceive in 60 feet of you recovers lost hit points. Not heals, just recovers lost hit points. So that way it specifically cuts out anything with temporary. You can you give that creature the cursed magic. Sorcerer can now use a touch spell on every person he has. Ooh, that is cool. That is that is cool. How would I do that? How would is like there I mean, if we're thinking in 5e terms, there is the hex blood as an ancestry, and that lets you, it's kind of a proto hag where you can kind of give vestiges of yourself and like always see through or communicate with them. First you need the hair as an extra material cost. Okay, yes. What would be the best way to make something like that? Cast a touch spell on every person they like. You don't need to. You need to know the person. Fair, yeah. Almost like Death Note rules. Like you know the person, you have something of them, instead of like you see the person, you know their name, etc., etc., and then like you can cast a spell targeting them. That does make sense. You can use it. You can only. Okay, so it would consume the relic from that. That makes sense. Actually, hang on, because I do really like this idea. So let me go ahead and make a note here, because this does actually feel similar to. This feels more like a wizard subclass, or like a wizard concept, and I want to include something like this because I do quite like it. All right. It's a target of a spell, even if they are out of range, including a creature in a spell's effect in this manner consumes the charm. There we go. Yes. So yeah, you collect a charm. You can include them in the effect of a spell, and then it consumes the charm. There we go. I like it. I do like that indeed. Ooh, maybe. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I do like that. Dude. Ooh. The question is at what level? Right, exactly. Good. Exactly. What level? What level would something like that be good for? Because the higher level ability, yeah. 15 plus. Yes, yeah. So mechanically, yeah. Actually, hang on. I'm gonna change a couple things here. So that way we can build this into here. So carving, you give an arcane sigil to allies as a ward buff. 4-ish. Get an item from an ally that you can use in a ritual to affect them with your magics. There we go. How does that interact with polymorph? Dragon normally would have no hair. Yeah, but they have scales. Like, if you can get maybe a tooth of a dragon or a dragon's scale, like, you can include them in that with something like that. I mean, polymorph still maintains the identity of the creature, even if they're in a different form. Like, I think we can. I think we can work with that. I mean, at that there is also a point at that time where it would just be kind of GM does this work, and in my mind, rule of cool would apply, and so yes, it does. Okay, so all right, you are a sorcerer connected to the green, a magical force of life that exists beneath the world as a part of its voice of no. Ooh, my dragonbone armor makes me immune against every magic. I just need to cast Wish. I cast Resurrection on the dragonbone armor. Yes. Exactly. That's a fun twist. You fool! I am immune. But it is a corpse, and so you can resurrect. Exactly. Yeah, that would be a fun twist. I love it. This. What do we call this? Heritage, a commandment. Hallowed commands. Hallowed cycles, hallowed presences. Hallowed commands. Ooh. 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 Ways? I mean, we already have Sorcerer's Ways with that, but like... maybe duties, tasks, roles. Like a thing that you can be in this environment. My king, I finally did it. I slayed all of the dragons. You mean you slayed the dragons? Guard. My lord, 3 dragons attacked the capital town. They screamed something about a cheating husband. Oh, you laid. Ah. Yes. Yep. Yep. Choose one following. Wait, what would this be? What would be a good name for this? Hallowed stations. No. No. Presences. Choose one to influence your sorcery. Means your sorcery in accord with the will of. There we go. All right. There we go. All right. Oh, hang on. We need to organize these alphabetically. Otherwise, this is going to break organization. Okay, so B, K, S, W, V. Okay, so. There we go. All right. Bring across the voice of peace, or There we go. All right. Okay. There. I feel good about that. So we've got all of our first level abilities for the Sorcerer done. It only took like 3 streams, but hell yeah. Okay. So our second level here is going to be a signature investiture. So that's going to be, a special action that is determined and for this archetype. Going for about an hour and a half already. Okay, nice. Okay, so what do we do from here? We need 5th level, we need 8th level features. We know what our 2nd level feature is. We're going to do that alongside creating our investiture template and then our class features. Man, I don't know. They also honestly, I think I need to return to the drawing board a bit here. And I'm not a rogue. I'm a butler with an honest and honorable job. You are so silent that it is creepy. That's normal if you want to clean in the middle of the night without waking up your master. You can simply vanish in a crowd of people. Butler should always be in the background so his master can shine. You literally cracked open 20 doors since I'm reading. Do you have any idea how many times? Yeah. I think I might actually call this stream on the earlier side today. I think I need to probably just go do some reading and exactly, yeah, same skills, different job. Those are very funny. I think I need to just go read a book, kind of take my mind off of this, and then I will slowly be piecing together what the Sorcerer subclass trajectories should be, so that way we can have different lineups, different targets that we can aim for. Yeah, I've been focused so much on getting all of these archetypes and these fighting styles and these different manners by which one can change how the class works, that I haven't really planned as far ahead as far as ways. Yeah, I think this is going to be a see you next time, but thank you so much for tuning in, Hoilepa. It's so much fun to hang out here, and I love reading your ideas and stories and jokes. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.